Could you give us your name and maybe a little bit about your background?
My name is James Norwood Pratt, and I'm a writer. For 30 years now, my principal subject has been tea. So you might say I'm a tea writer, even though I also write about wine and ballet and any number of things, history and so forth. But tea is what has fascinated me all my life. And in fact, this is the 30th anniversary edition of the first book that I ever wrote on tea. You have to rewrite a book like this at intervals because you know a lot more 30 years later than you did the first time around, you see. So this is a history of the teas of the world and a guide to the world of teas that's in one cover here. And that's been my principal job I'm a tea educator.
How did it all start for you? Like what was the moment that you thought, okay, this is what I want to do for my life. This is what I want to focus on.
Well, it started more gradually and less dramatically. I had already distinguished myself with a bestseller, for God's sake, on the subject of wine. So I owed this publisher another book, and it turned out that wine was the perfect preparation to write about tea. They are both agricultural products which, at best, become a work of art. And I didn't realize the parallels until I had written the ancestor of this present book, you see, 30 years ago, about tea. And ever since then, I've just been hooked on both wine and tea. That's how it started for me.
What is your favorite tea?
Oh, now that's not fair. That's not fair. I can always narrow it down to a few dozen, but that few dozen vary from one year to the next because you don't always, for instance, have such good luck as they're having this year in Darjeeling. And this year, my several dozen teas would include fully 1 dozen Darjeelings, you see, of the different crops. And I understand that China Dragonwell is superb this year, and that's always one of my favorite teas.
What would you say if someone's trying to get into teas? Obviously, you've written the book on it, and so they can get a lot of insight from your experience on teas. What would you say to someone that wants to really understand tea? I mean, more than just the standard stuff off the shelves. What would be a good place to start, or a good place to get, I guess, more knowledgeable about tea?
Well, what can we say? It's like making love. You have to find out about it for yourself, and you have to do it with with tenderness and passion. You see, you give your whole self to it, and you discover that you've learned a lot in the course of a year. It's not a course that you can take, but it is something that you have to do with friends. It's something that's shared. It's something that we want to give to each other.
One thing I'm learning too is, I mean, just from walking around, with some cultures, presentation is very important, along with the tea. And I know one of the persons interviewed earlier talked about different cultures having different ways and how neat and interesting each culture is. Could you talk a little bit about that?
That's a very good point. The Chinese place enormous importance on the appearance of the leaf because they like to prepare tea 1 cup at a time with the leaf right in the cup before you. So you're looking at it as you're drinking. Of course, leaf appearance is unimportant to Japan, where they always prepare it in a teapot. So you're never going to see the leaf, you see. And in America, we are able to embrace all of these different tea cultures, all of these different tea traditions. And so here, we don't pledge allegiance to some one way of tea. We invite them all in and enjoy them all. This is a very good place in time and space to be learning about tea, the USA.
And what about the British? Because I know the British are, at least on the media, known as tea connoisseurs, along with some of the Asian countries.
You see, you're just trying to embarrass me because you know I'm Anglo-Saxon. I have to admit, no one knows less about tea than the English. Our English cousins have what they call builder's tea, which is strong enough to trot a mouse on, and disguised with milk and sugar, typically, and they drink great amounts of it, and they love it. But they're missing the tea element, the flavor of the leaf itself, you see, and that's what all of us, the rest of the world over, love most dearly. So I don't want to be too harsh on the land of my ancestors, but that's the way it is. I get better tea almost anywhere else.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get a lot of comments on that. Okay.
Well, it's very kind of you, John, to interview me, and I, as one tea educator to another, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Our society, this country, didn't used to be a wine-consuming country, a wine-consuming society, and now it is. Well, we're on our way to becoming a tea-consuming society, and if we do, it will be because of the work that you're doing and that I'm doing, and we tea lovers who are the bearers of this tradition. I think we'll be a lot healthier and a lot less quarrelsome if we become tea-drinking people. So I hope you'll carry on.
Well, again, thank you so much for the question.